The computer will give you better quality, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And
Perfect.
then just go to view and make sure your view says speaker mode, not gallery.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. Well, we
Just
recorded
helps the
that.
recording come out better.
Well, thank you very much for the tip, friend. Okay.
Of course,
Oh,
yeah.
I'll have to cut this out from the recording, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just trim it up when you're done with
Yes.
it.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so let me go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Let me see, share my screen. We're gonna do this. Share. Okay, but I can still see people walking in, maybe if they
Oh,
start.
do you know how to disable? It might should let you. Um, oh shoot, I'm not host. So if you go to what is it? I think if you go to more, those three dots,
Yes.
there's an option or it's security. One of them says security at the bottom. So when you click that, like towards the top, one of them should say like enable waiting room with a check mark. And if you click that, it'll disable it so that anybody can just drop in. But you will see names pop up.
Okay, okay.
It just might throw you off to, have to stop and
Right,
approve
right,
people.
right. Okay. Well, I don't see that what you're talking about. Don't see.
Yeah, I know. Trying to go off memory. I'm like, I think it's under security.
Yeah, whiteboard notes, docs,
Yeah.
captions. Okay. Well, let's go from here and then I should see the people anyway. Can you see my
Yeah, you'll see
screen?
them.
Can you,
Yes.
can
Yep.
you see?
I see the screen.
Okay, perfect. Well, but if I do this, then I don't see you. Okay. I don't like that. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Let me adjust here. Click exit. Okay. Let me try that. You see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The
I
connection
see it
shift. Huh?
with the Canva slides.
Yes. Okay. So I want to do that, right?
Oh, so do present, not what you're doing. That might be why it's throwing you off. So present next to
Gotcha.
the share. Yeah. That way you'll still see whoever's in the Zoom room, but then
Okay.
I only see like the slide.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Well, I see the menu on the top.
Yeah, you do, I don't though. That's yeah. As the host, there's no way to get rid of that, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't see it.
Okay. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. It is called the connection shift, stop parenting, start leading. So hopefully I'll see the people that are walking into the presentation, into the master class. As they come in, I'll accept. How do I make it to where I don't accept, like I don't have to accept them. Like they just walk in.
That's what I was trying to say. At the
Okay.
bottom, do you see like a security? It looks almost like a shield, maybe. It says security, I think, in like the bottom menu next to participants, maybe.
No, now I just see it at the top.
Oh, well, yeah, if you stop screen sharing, it's easier to find.
Okay, hold on.
So at
Okay.
the bottom,
Oh, I see over here. I see the security.
okay, so click that, and then towards the top, maybe the second, third option says like enable waiting room, and it has a check mark next to it.
Only authentic users can enjoy from users. No.
No, that's where it would be. If you want, you can make me co-host, and then
Okay.
I can let them in for you if anybody pops up.
Okay. Host tools. Oh, wait, maybe here. Rename
Oh, is
start.
it under host tools? Maybe. It is very possible that the option moves around.
Enable waiting room on
Yeah.
that.
So is
Okay.
there a little check mark next to
Yes,
it?
yes, yes.
Okay, so if you click it, it'll get rid of the check mark, and that will, I think it'll say waiting room disabled on your screen.
Okay, okay, perfect. Yes, now
Yes.
I
So
see it.
now if
Okay.
anybody tries to enter, Like I can even test it. I'll test it from my phone and it'll um I should be able to just come right into the class without you having to do anything if it works correctly.
Yeah. I'm glad that I got this time with you.
Yeah, so I was like, use me as your guinea pig. So that's okay. And then you can edit all of this out in the recording.
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, now I can share with clear peace of mind. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, let me
No, I
exit.
appreciate that. I
Yep. So
appreciate
yeah, so now the waiting room's good. If anybody pops in, then that'll be fine. They'll just pop in when they pop in.
that. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to do share, and I'm going to do this, share that one, and then I'm going to go here, percent.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're
And
good?
you're gonna introduce yourself too, right? Just I mean,
So what?
you're gonna introduce yourself too, like as you get
Yes.
started.
Yes, yes, yes.
Pretend
Okay.
you don't know me. Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here. My name is Xochitl Rodriguez, and I am your teacher, host, coach, therapist, everything in between. And I am so glad that you guys are here today for this masterclass, A Connection Shift, Stop Parenting and Start Leading. I will go ahead and respect your time, respect mine, and we'll go ahead and get started right away because I do have some questions for you guys. And you can put them either in the chat or there's not that many of us here, so if you want to unmute yourself, that's fine. So is parenting teens more difficult now? So what do you think? Is parenting teens more difficult now than it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago? Um, what's the difference? Who is influencing your teen the most? What do you think? And I don't wear glasses, so you might not be used to me wearing glasses, but I'm going to wear them for this because I want to take a look at the chat, and so that we can have this conversation. So let's see. Where's the chat? There we go. Okay. So yes, millennials are mouthy. Yes, peers seem to have more influence than before now. Thank you for your feedback. It can be both, right? So yes, parenting seems to be more difficult now, just because the times have changed, right? The difference is, well, the difference in generations, difference of information that they have access to. They can compare themselves to other people. When we were growing up, maybe we didn't have the ability to compare ourselves to others, and now they do. So they turn out to be more mouthy, and they get influences from everywhere, not just the house, not just your neighbors, not just the school, but literally all over the world with social media and everything that is happening around them, the news. There's such a bombardment of information, the internet, more access to information. Yeah, so that is happening to our teenagers right now. And if we don't know how to handle it, I know sometimes I have to take a Facebook break or a social media break every now and then. Now I don't, because that's what I do, but that's part of my job. But it sometimes it gets too overwhelming, and it is overwhelming for them too, even though, but that's the world though. That's the world that we live in. That's what they're exposed to, and that's what they have to kind of live with every day. And sometimes we don't think of it that way, because we see it differently, but that's their way of communication. This is the generation that this is the way that they communicate with friends and with the world in general. So yes, parenting can be a little bit more difficult now. It doesn't have to be if we have the right relationship. So let's go ahead and lead. So lead yourself first. So, well, hold on. No, sorry, you guys. I am. There we go. I kind of lost you a little bit because I opened. Do you guys see my screen? There we go. Okay. Let me go ahead and do it again because I lost the screen here for a second. Okay. So as a parent, your ability to stay grounded, and I look at this, I have consistent and values driven. I have it underlined because that is key to leading your teenager. Why do I first, let me back up a little bit. Why do I talk about leading your teenager? Stop parenting, because parenting, it's supposed to look different when you have a teenager. I know parenting when they're younger, there's a lot of command. There's a lot of don't do this, don't touch that, and setting boundaries, but more physical boundaries more than anything. As teenagers, you don't have that, but you have to set emotional boundaries. And that's being done better by leading your teenager, by having that relationship with them. So I'm going to talk a lot about how to lead your teenager, and how to find that connection and to foster that connection with your teenager so you can lead them. But I want to go over this first because this is like the first layer of leading your teenagers. You have to be consistent and values driven. Do you know what your values are, your personal values? Do you know what's important to you? And are you consistent with your values? How do you run your life? So a lot of leading your teenager, I want to put the focus on you, the adult that is leading the teenager, so that you, because they're going to learn from you. Yes, they get a lot of influence from their peers. They get a lot of influence from influencers, from social media and things like that. The truth of the matter is, this is the age when teenagers are developing their brain, the part of their brain that is learning about abstract concepts, just as emotional regulation, communication, values, how to set boundaries, how to manage their anger, how to recognize their emotions. And for that, they're looking at you. Why? Because this is something that is that connection and that relationship is needed. So first, look at how you are leading your life. So this is going to be a reflection on you so that you can be the best example for your kid. I want to ask a little bit later about, like, who do you remember, or do you have a leader in mind? What do you admire about them, and how does that connect to you? Why do you connect with this person? So we're talking about being consistent and being values driven, and values can be different for each family, can be different for each person. So I talk about values because that's going to embody the environment, the atmosphere that you want to build around the relationship with your teenager. So uh, leading yourself self first. Teenagers mirror emotional regulation. So do you think that your teen is paying attention to you? What do you think? Let's go ahead and put it in the chat. Do you think your teenager is... Oh, I lost the chat. There we go. Okay. Do you think your teenager is paying attention to you on anything that you do? Sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And yes, you're right. They're paying attention to the good, the bad, the ugly, how you react to situations. And I know I have a second question here. How do you react when someone is mean to you? When someone belittles you, when somebody bullies you? I know we talk a lot about bullies at school and high school, but you and I know that there's adults are bullies too. So how do you deal with that? How do you manage the situation? And I'm reading the comments here. Yes, especially I think they pay attention to how we handle tough situations. How do you handle conflict? How do you react when somebody cuts you on the highway? Guilty. I know I'm guilty because I'm like, I have stupid drivers. The kids are watching you. And it may seem something small, but they are watching you. Now I see my teenagers drive, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I teach him how to, wiggle the car when they're driving? And that I should not have done that. And now I'm going back. It's like, okay, they're watching everything. I used to do it when they were little, just to kind of have them like, let's do a little dance, and I will wiggle the car, and when we're driving home or whatever. And now my 16-year-old is doing it too. And it's like, oh my gosh, that's not what I want you to learn. Please learn just the good things. But no, they're learning everything from you. Were you having a fight with your spouse or with your partner? How do you handle that? Do you raise your voice? How much alcohol do you use? What coping skills do you have? And I know this is going to get personal for some of us. I know I feel it too, because I had to take a pause for myself. So how do you handle your own self? Because they're watching you. My oldest daughter taught me a lesson not too long ago, not maybe a couple of years ago, about how I was managing my life. And I wanted her to do something different than what she was doing. And she turned around and she answered back to me. It's like, Mom, so why are you doing it? And I was floored, you guys. I was floored because it was something that I thought I was hiding. I thought I was managing it well. I'm a therapist of 15 years experience, and I have all these letters after my name. I thought I was doing a great job. Guess what? She noticed. Just how we know our kiddos, they know us. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm looking up here. Um, I like the expression emotional regulation on the slide. Okay, thank you very much for that feedback because everything we are emotional human beings. That's that we're made of mind, body, and soul, and that means our emotions too. And so everything that we do from the moment we wake up, we already have an attitude of what kind of day we're gonna have. And if you have like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to work, guess what? Whether you say it in front of them or not, when you come downstairs to the kitchen and you're fixing breakfast for them or whatever, they can see it on you, whether you voice it out or not. Do you know when your kid is having a bad day? How do you know? They don't have to say a word. They don't have to say a word. You know it because you know them well. Guess what? They know you too. So, how do you lead yourself? How do you lead your life? Let's here. This is gonna hit. You cannot lead your teen to a place you haven't been yourself. You cannot lead your teen to a place you have not been yourself. I just as a therapist, I have a lot of experience. I've been doing this for a long time. And I get a lot of, hey, my teenager is 17, about to graduate. Can you do anything for them? Can you fix them before they go off to college? And it's like, well, what have you been doing in the past? And like, there's times and things like that. Or what is it that you need fixing? It's like, well, they don't do this, they don't exercise, they don't watch what they're eating, they're doing this. And so a lot of the times I go into depth and I ask personal questions for the mom or the dad that is calling me. He's like, well, how do you handle stressful situations? How do you handle life transitions? Because they're graduating high school, they're about to go to college, or they're about to either go to, find a big person job, or about to go into the world, and they're nervous. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. So how do you handle those life transitions when you start a new job? So it's about how you face those things. And that way you can guide your teenager to peace, to having, to not, to setting boundaries. This is a good one, especially for us women. Do you set boundaries for yourself? Well, it's because my daughter, she does everything the boyfriend tells her. How, okay. So how do we handle it ourselves? Do we have boundaries with our boss? Do we have boundaries with our, partners? How do you handle that? So this is a lot of reflection. And the parent takeaway for this topic, I have 3 points that I'm going to do. The first one is lead yourself first. And the takeaway for this, discipline is less about punishment. A lot of us, I know we want to punish, but it's more about modeling. How do you, especially at this age, because we know that we put all the rules, we set all the boundaries, we tell them exactly what we want them to do, and then we get the rolling eyes, then we get the slamming the doors, and we get the attitude, and we get upset, but because they're not following through. But it's because you're putting the boundaries without telling them why, because you're asking them for something that you haven't done yourself, or because you're expecting them to be something that they're not yet. They have the potential to be this or that, but they're still growing. Their brain is still really still their brain is a mess at this age. Their hormones are a mess. Everything is a mess. So it's teens don't need a manager, they need a model. So first model, then guide. Model, guide, model, guide. And you can kind of see that pattern. Josie, you have a question. I see that you raise your hand. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Is not a well, I don't know if it's a question or if it's a comment, but just with what you were saying, like, oh my God, it was like right at the tip of my head, how part of it is like the discipline, right? And you have to give them the reason why. That's what it was. Because I feel like for our parents' generation, right? Like the what is it, the Gen X, like the the grandparents
Hmm.
probably in this stage, it was more of the we don't ask any questions, right? Like you do what you're told and that's it. But we
Yeah.
did it versus now the way like teens are and just millennials, whatever, kids,
Yes.
Gen Z's these days, it
Hmm.
is more of like, but tell me why. Like they're not, I feel like the mindset somewhere in there, I don't know if it's
Hmm.
the mindset or just the culture has shifted from the just do what I tell you. Like we might still try, but it doesn't work.
You
Like it
didn't,
has to be
yeah.
different, I guess.
I didn't question. I know you're much younger than me, so I didn't question because my mom was a boss and she was she was a manager of my life. But I didn't have access to all this other information about how other teenagers live their life, what is important to them, what's important to me. It's like, well, I can do this if they're doing this and they're making, and just for example, and this is something that I see with the teenagers that I see in my practice all the time. Well, but this teenager pushes boundaries and she's making $4 million every minute that she posts on TikTok or things like that. And they're comparing themselves to that person or to that celebrity or to that influencer. So yes, things have changed, things have shifted, and the reason why we have to kind of lead the teenagers at this point, not necessarily discipline them because they have access to so much information and so many examples from people around the world, really. So it used to be to where I grew up with my little community, with my neighborhood, with neighborhood kids, and usually we share kind of the same, status or the same values, or we kind of stay in the circle in a bubble. Guess what? The bubble is around the planet Earth at this point. So so that's a big difference. That's a big difference that it's making in our in the attitudes of our teenagers at this point. Lead with vision, not control. What does that mean to you guys? Can you share in the chat? What do you think lead with vision and not control? What do you think that is? What does that mean to you? Okay, not sure. It's probably the first time that we hear it this way. And as a therapist, everyone says was what we want kids to do. Okay, so ever since I was as I started with my career and when I started raising my own kids, I always, for example, you have a kid in a toddler on your table, on the dinner table, and they're throwing a tantrum, and you either give them food so you can kind of calm them down, or you give them an iPad to kind of calm them down, or you deal with a tantrum. What do we like this generation of teenagers? How did most parents face a tantrum on the table? The first two, right? Either give them food to entertain them or give an iPad to entertain them, and then minimize that tantrum, hide the emotion because that's a tantrum is an emotional reaction to a situation. They're pushing the boundary, they're doing something. So we try to control that tantrum by doing the first two things. When I was raising my kids and going through therapy grad school, I always asked myself, how would this behavior look 5 years from now? How would this behavior, my reaction to my daughter's behavior, how will it look from 10 years from now? And that's what I mean about leading with vision. Your teenager starts, leading your teen starts with a clarity around what kind of adult you're trying to raise. So that is the vision. Like, what is it that I want to do with this tantrum that I can see the reflection of that behavior in 5 years from now? So the way that I manage because of my intuition and not all the time, you guys, because I'm still a mom, I'm still human, and I didn't have all my stuff together all the time. But I would let him process the tantrum, and I would time it out. Let's say, okay, so let's say, okay, you want to throw a tantrum? Okay, let's go ahead and let's throw a tantrum for 3 minutes. I'm going to put a timer, and then after that, you're going to use your words. Let's say she's 2 or 3 years old, right? So I would give him allow them to process that emotion, that frustration, whatever that was. 3 minutes, put the timer. Okay, timer's up. Can we use our words now? Now, translate it when they're 16 and 18, when they're feeling frustration, they know they can process, they have the permission to process that emotion. And now they have the words to communicate that frustration and identify the emotion and communicate that frustration or whatever emotion they're going through. So that's what I mean by lead them with vision, not control, because you're trying to control with giving them the first two options. Here's more foods for you to entertain yourself, which is going to turn into them finding food as comfort. And then that's what they're going to go to every time that they're having an emotion, because that's what we train them to do. Thor. Sorry, my dog is here. And or second, let's drown ourselves or numb ourselves with social media. So the first two, that's what we have created. And that's why there's such a crisis with teenagers at this point, because those were the two things. And this is not a criticism on parenting. I know I did those things at some point too. And then it dawned on me, it's like, okay, well, no, wait, there's something wrong with this reaction from me. So how can I change that so I can create a better adult, a better teenager later? So who do you want your kid to be? Who do you want your kid to be? Do you know that? Can you answer it in the chat? Can you put some comments in there? Who do you want? And I put in big letters, not what. Who? What is the difference? What it was is what they do. Who is what they are? What is a mother, a doctor, an astronaut? It's what they do. Those are roles. Who do you want your kid to be? I can see the comments: respectful, kind, loving, generous, control their emotions, being mature, teach, these things we can teach them right now as teenagers. If that's what they're from, when you're trying to teach a toddler to regulate their emotions, it's not the right time for them. It's not the right time because their brain doesn't understand that when they're teenagers, they start developing those front lobe connections. And this is where you teach them how to control their emotions, how to control their frustrations, how to be assertive. What is it that you want, Mama? I will tell my daughters, right? What is it that you want? Well, I just want that. Okay, let's calm down. Let's breathe. When you're ready to tell me in a calm manner, then you can communicate with me and then we can start negotiating. Not while we're screaming, especially not when mom is screaming and frustrated. Okay. So mature, good partners, when they start to grow up a family, good moms, whatever, wherever situation they're in. So you want them to be good people, regardless of what they do. What they do is completely different. So what are you focusing on to achieve that? How can we make that connection of having that vision and foster that vision so that you're secure of what you're doing and how you're doing things so that you foster that vision for your teenager? What are you focusing to achieve that? And I talk a lot about my in my online course, in my book also, which I'll talk about at the end. I talk about focusing on values. What are the values that you have in your family? So what is it that you're focusing on? And I'm going to turn it around. Like we said in the previous slide, it all comes back to how you react. Who are you as the adult? Do you know who you are? Know what you do, because we can have a long list of everything that we do, but who are you? What kind of person are you? So let's start with that. So I'm going to challenge you to start with that. How do you start to lead with vision if you've never done that before? Intentionally, anyways. So it's a lot of reflection about, and you guys know, if you follow me on social media, you guys know I'm an advocate for adults. Do your work, do your emotional work, go to therapy, life coach, books, podcasts, anything that you can do so that you do your internal work. And then, like I said, always when you have a situation when your kid is pushing you and you have that, I want to scream right now, which, by the way, why do we raise our voices? We raise our voices when we feel like we have lost control and we want to impose authority. So my question to you is, what kind of control do you lose and how can you gain it back? So whenever you're in that situation, there's like, oh, I want to spank this kid right now. It's like, okay, let's take a step back. Why is this situation bothering me so much? And now, after I learned a little bit more, when my kids were growing up, I was like, okay, give me 5 minutes. I need to breathe a little bit before I lose my mind with you guys. And that's okay, because you're teaching them, I need time to process this emotion, to identify it, to see how I'm going to react. to the situation that you're putting me in. And that's perfectly okay. Your kid seeing you being vulnerable and taking your time to process your own emotion with that frustration is so much better than you reacting to the situation and trying to fix it right away and put a band-aid on it. Okay? Does that make sense? We're good? Thumbs up? Any questions? Put it in the chat. Okay. Lead with vision, not control. Control focuses on short-term compliance. What we're talking about before. That's what our parents or my parents, not for you guys are younger than me, but that's what my parents focused on, right? Just having compliance. That's all they needed at that time. And that turned out to be okay, right? But term compliance, leadership focuses on long-term character, focus on their character. This is something huge that I share with I did again. No, that's not what I want to do. Sorry, you guys. I put the chat, it goes big and then I can see anything. Okay. So leadership focuses on long-term character, and character is a big thing because that's what you want to develop. That's what we want to have the vision. Can you guys see that I'm playing with this with the chat and it's no? Okay, so because the chat is on my way at this point. Okay. Well, I removed it and then I'll lost it and then I'll bring it up again. Okay, we'll come back. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We're good. Okay. So leadership focuses on long-term character. We're talking about values. We're talking about teaching and you taking the time to make a decision to process what is going on and for you to process that emotion or that situation and take your time to take the next step because teenagers are watching you every step. They're learning from you. Yes, it might look like they're paying more attention to their peers at that point, which is very normal, by the way. They care about what other people think. We cannot tell a teenager, you don't have to worry about what other people think. Like, why do you do that? Because that's what they do. That's teenagers. That's exactly what they're supposed to do. So if we tell them not to pay attention to what other people say, then we're telling them not to be themselves, not to be their in normal development processes. I'm reading the chat here says maybe it's a cultural thing. Island folks, control and discipline was definitely a big part of how we were raised. And you know what, you guys, I love that comment because the more that I learn about cultural differences, we call it differences, the more that I realize that we're so much alike. I think it's true for a lot of people that's how we were raised at that gen and that in the past. And now we're talking about how to really set that internal. It's more internal character so that they can develop themselves better. You empower them. You're giving them the tools to know themselves better. You get out of the way so that they can know themselves better and they can communicate better. They can regulate their emotions better and things like that. I want you guys to think of a leadership role model that you have. I'm going to give you about a couple of minutes for this exercise. Write down 5 to 10 qualities that they demonstrate that you admire these people for. And then the second question is going to come back later, but if you want to put it on the chat, like you can write down just the qualities that you write about your leader or role model that you follow. What are some of the qualities that they demonstrate that you admire about them? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes for that. I start seeing the comments here. I'm still fighting with this chat box. There we go. Okay. Loving, approachable, honest feedback. Treats me with respect, teaches me along with them. So you're growing with them too. Very good. I love that. So I'm going to share with you and then I'm going to come back to this slide. So think about, and like I said, you can keep adding to this list. And then this is one of my favorite people, Emily Ford. I've been following her for years. I met her through a network marketing company. She's not like a celebrity. She's an influencer. But why do I admire her? I've been following her for like 12 years, you guys. And just recently, in the last couple of years, I've been doing some business with her business. She does like business coaching and stuff like that. Highly, highly, highly recommend. She's genuine. She's consistent. For me, it's important that she's faith-based. Ambitious. And she's faith-based and then ambitious. Sometimes they collide, or we think, or we have the impression that they should collide. They don't collide. And she does a beautiful job at this. So ambitious, elegant. She's very values driven. When you see her page, if you look her Instagram, you can see what she's about just on her Instagram feed. It's beautiful, elegant, very clear communication. She strives for personal growth. She promotes other girls who are building their business. She promotes other people that are doing personal growth, are motivating and speakers and things like that. Open-minded, and she focuses on service. Like I said, if you go through her Instagram, you can see on her page she's so focused on that. So, for years, I my mentality was like, let me copy her until I can find my authentic self, because I felt so lost and I feel so hidden. And I didn't know who I was because of life, right? Because I was not used to leading or not used to being led the right way. So I was just task oriented. So to find my authentic self, I wanted to copy everything that she did. And that's okay if you need to do that. Copy somebody else that you admire until you can become yourself, until you find your voice, until you find your style, right? So that's what I did with her. And now, like I said, I got this a couple of years. I got the honor to do some business with her, and it's just amazing. And now I can see that I found my own mission and vision. But a lot of a lot of those values, I apply to my own self. Some of them are very true to me, and some of them are not. And I just apply what I connect with. So service is another really good one. Servant leader is a term I like to use a lot for people I respect. A lot of leaders and role models, exactly. And service is something that is important to me, and it sounds like it's important to you also. And so if it's not, that's okay, but identify with somebody that has the same values that you have. So now that we looked at that, how can we apply and teach those into our parenting? Because we look up to those leaders and we follow them because they're kind, they're loving, they're approachable. How can we foster that into our kids? How can we have a ripple effect into our kids, into our parenting? It's the way that you carry yourself. It's the way that you face adversity. It's the way that you face something that you are not in control of. And we're talking about how to lead yourself first. And it's that vision. It's like I said, I knew who I wanted to become, and I'm working on that. And every time I become the person that I wanted to become, then I raise the standard and I raise the standard and I raise the standard, because I have that growth mentality. So, but that vision, I always follow that vision. It's like, what if I want to be, let's say, for example, if I want to be a person like Emily, what would I do every day? What would I choose to do every day? I wake up, I pray and meditate for 30 minutes. That's something that it's connected to that. How can I foster that into my kids? I don't have to tell them to wake up early and meditate and pray for 30 minutes. Guess what? They're learning just by watching you. Just leave the door open. In your room, I have a praying chair in my room. I leave the door open and they'll see it. And after 3 months of doing it every day, they ask, Mom, what are you doing? I'm praying and meditating, baby girl. And you can see my prayers are on my wall right here. Oh, okay. Will they do it right now? Probably not. They're probably too cool to do that right now. But guess what? When they're 20, 24, 30, 70, they might remember, hey, this is the way my mom dedicated her life, her service. And she prayed about serving the people that she felt the privilege to serve and to lead and things like that. This is what she did, and that's what I'm instilling in them. I'm not asking them to do the exact same things that I do. Some of them I do. So that's why it's so important to find the values that you want to instill in your kids, and then what do you want to teach them by just modeling who you are. So those are very important things to distinguish, because some of them you do want them to become the person that you know they're capable of, but give them grace because they're still teenagers. They have no idea what is going on in their heads. You guys, I'm 47. Do I know what's going on in my head all the time? No. Do I have all my stuff together yet? No. Am I a professional? I'm willing to share whatever tools I know and what I what I cried about and scratched my head and lost my sleep about it. And I figure it out and I'm willing to share it with you. Absolutely. But I'm still human, right? And then we all are. And they still are. They're still a mess. I mean, my kids drink water. I don't even remember knowing what water was, except from the hose when we were playing outside. until I was like 30, right? And it's like, oh, I have to hydrate. What is that? Now kids are drinking water, like doing great. Like they're doing great, you know? So it's how what battles are you willing to fight with them? Okay. Again, define your family values. This is key. Key. So you can pick the battles so you can protect the vision. There's a lot of exercises online. I know I have one on, I'm going to upload it into my website, but you can find a lot of exercises online that talk about identifying your values. Why are those important? And most importantly, once you find your values, you can ask ChatGPT or Google, how does this value reflect in an adult? How does this value reflect on a teenager? So how does that value reflect on the behavior? So you want to connect the value to the behavior because the value is something abstract, right? Let's for example, I'm divorced, I'm single now, but when I was with my with the girl's dad, faith was a big one for us. So we had to define, and we put our values on the wall. We have to define what the faith value, how did that look in our family? So we put it on the wall. How does that look? We pray, every night. We go to church on Sundays. We do some kind of Bible study. There's a family or alone. And those were the things. Those are the three things that we mainly did. And there's obviously other things. We did VBS, Vacation Bible School. I think that's what it's now. I remember because it was so long ago. But things like that to connect them with that. But and then pray before any major tests, any life transition. Pray about so things like that. So we taught them the prayer was important to us because the value of faith was important. The value, for example, and I always recommend families to have five family values. Those are the battles that you're gonna want to fight with your teenager. Those are the five values. So don't put 15 because that's way too many. Now you're just setting rules. So just five values, have it displayed in your house, either refrigerator, in the room, in the bathroom, wherever you want. How do those values look in behavior wise for your teenagers and for you so you can follow those? Now, there's other things that you may want to hygiene. That's something that's expected anyway. So you shouldn't have to add hygiene as one of the values. But there's certain standards that they have to follow. But those are the five values they're going to fight. So you're going to pick those battles. So because you're not going to win every battle, you're not going to win every battle. You have to be willing to lose some battles. Well, my kid wants to paint, color their hair green. Is physical appearance or beauty or in the family values? No, it's not. Okay. Well, I'd rather teach them how to be kind, how to be loyal, how to be, have personal growth. Those are the family values. Physical appearance may not be one of them. Okay, so guess what? Now your teenager has green hair. And that's fine because you're not willing to fight that battle because this is a war that you're fighting right here. Does that make sense? And I always recommend five family values and then have the teenagers also do the exercise for values and pick two for them. For example, I have two daughters. They're very extremely different. Value for my youngest one, athleticism, because that's who she is. Athleticism is very important to her. So that's one of her values. So we respect and support that. And then for my oldest one can be another one, and then we respect and support that. That may not have been one of the five family values of the battles that I was willing to fight. She picked it or you picked it with them. So we did the exercise as a family. We picked the five as a family, but I gave them the list. And then I told them when we're all together, I told them, which ones would you pick for yourself? So they picked their own. So that gives them authority. They feel like they have control and they feel like they can be themselves because like, this is something that defines me that doesn't have to be those five. So that's why I only say two, because those are two, so that you don't have that many battles to fight. Yeah. So, and you respect, like I say, display them and then respect their own so that they have ownership over that. Clear value system helps you lead with consistency, not control, and gives your team the freedom within structure. This is huge for setting boundaries, for setting values in the family, for building trust. That's what I wanted to say. For building trust, this is huge, huge, huge. Okay. Let's see. I can talk forever. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving forward. Lead through connection, not position. What does that mean? Who influences you in your life? Who is influential in your life and why? So share that on the chat. Who are you influenced by? Your everyday life. What people influence you in your life and why? You can share a little bit. Influenced by peers, by coworkers, by siblings, parents. Yes, some influencers. Like I said, for me, it was Emily. I didn't know anybody in person that could, yeah, that's who I wanted to become. So best friends. And we choose our friends now, right? Because we're adults, we choose our friends. So maybe we have friends at some point that we're not the best influence. Certain celebrities I respect or world leaders, very good. So why do you choose them? Why do you choose them? Just very quickly, why do you choose these people in your life to lead you? They had values I admire. We go back to values. You see how important that is? Because that really touches everything that we are. And we're developing this little human, this young human, for them to know who they are. And that is key. That is very, very important. They have values that I admire and or share. So connection is a currency of influence. How do you connect to your siblings? How you connect to your friends? How do you connect to your leaders? I know I'm a huge fan, and this is actually I took this material out of one of John Maxwell's book, and so because he's all about leadership, so I know he's a huge influence in my life, and the values that he shares and he values, I share those too. So I learn a lot from him. So that is, but how do I have connection with him? I read his books. I read one of his devotionals. I listen to the podcast. I go to a conference. I do. So that's how I led those, even though they're not in my circle, in my inner circle right here. But that's how I let them influence me. How does Emily influence? I follow her every single step. Yes, I'm obsessed with her. Yes, I'm gonna accept that right now. I like teenagers, I'm obsessed with Taylor Swift. That's another one too. Like, oh, don't even get me started with Taylor Swift because I adore her. So anyway, but that connection is your currency for influence. So building that connection with your teenager, not fighting with them every day, regulating your emotions before you react to their attitude, to their, to their slamming doors, to their being isolated, to their being on their phones all the time and things like that. That is how you're going to influence, because you're focusing on that connection and not on setting rules and not on being upset of them for being teenagers. That's who they are at this point. And I say this, in my own, I say it on my online course, I say it on my book and things like that about we know 2-year-olds are going to throw tantrums. We know, 4-year-olds are going to ask why 1,000 times in 5 minutes. We know teenagers are going to have attitudes. And yet I have parents call me and they're like in distress because, oh my God, my teenager has attitude. Well, yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, my teenager is isolating themselves and they're only on their phone. And they're only listening to their friends. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's normal. Okay, what else? So, and I know that freaks us out, but like we accept the two-year-old having a tantrum. That's what we accept from teenagers too, because that's who they are. How we handle it is a big difference. And that's where we're going to build a connection. When we know, it's this was a big joke with my kids. Like it's still my 16-year-old, because anything that you tell your teenager, do this, be safe, drive safely, do good on your test. I know, mom. I know, mom. They know everything. I know, mom. So the joke with that with my kids, ever since they were younger, and they started with the I know, mom, everything. I will start the conversation. I will start the sentence with, I know you know, because you're a very smart kid, because you're my kid. I know you know, but I'm going to tell you, drive safely anyway. Okay. I know you know. I just wanted to let you know. I just wanted to kind of repeat myself. I know, stupid mom thing, So I kind of make that joke. And now it's like, I know you know, but, and then when you ask them anything, they're like, well, I don't know. Well, I thought you knew everything. Well, I don't know everything, but you act like you. So yeah, instead of getting upset and frustrated myself, it's a joke. I get a joke, and it's so much easier for me. And I don't have that many gray hairs. And guess what? They're laughing at this point. So because I'm building that connection. Teens don't listen to people they don't trust. If you're not consistent with your behavior, if you're not consistent with your values, if you're not consistent with yourself, if you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you're not building that trust. Just by experience, I'm not going to name anybody, but adults that they tell you they're going to do something and they don't do it. Do you trust them? If it happened once, if it happens 10 times, do you trust them? If they lose, if for any frustration, they lose their temper and they start screaming or they start yelling at whoever cuts them in traffic or whoever cuts them in the grocery store, do you trust their behavior? You know, just saying. So how can you have your teenager trust you? Um, Communicate through active listening. Ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions is key to how they're going to respond. And then, I'm going to challenge you to listen. What? Yes. Actually listening without judgment, without interruption, and without a life lesson. What? I know you're full of wisdom and I know you want to share all it's like, well, you should have done this, you should have done this, and why are you doing that? And leave that to the side. Listen without interruptions, without judgment, and without a life lesson. I'm going to repeat that again: without judgment, without interruption, and without a life lesson. That's actually listening. How do you feel when you're talking and your spouse interrupts you in the middle of a conversation to make it about themselves? Or how did they manage that situation? Teenagers are the same way. Get curious. Ask more questions. Tell me more. What happened then? What did you do? Or what did your friend do? What happened next? How did you react? How did you feel about that? Thank you for putting that on the chat. Without judgment, without interruption, and without a life lesson. Ask the questions, and then you get tired of asking questions, and then ask some more. Ask, and ask. After you ask all your questions, they give you all the information. Maybe the next day you give him a correction. Maybe the next day you give him a life lesson. Maybe the next day you tell them what a stupid idea that was. But not at that moment, not when you ask questions and you just gathering information. I'm not saying to use it against them. No, I'm just saying, like, don't react at that moment. But then it's like, okay, so something that I worked a lot with my kids and that I use with my clients a lot is who influences your kid. For example, for my youngest one, it was her cheer coaches. A lot of my stories are for my youngest one because my oldest, she's an angel. So my youngest one was the one that made me a teen therapist. So with my little one, the major influences that she still has are her cheer coaches. Bingo. What would your cheer coach think about that? What would your cheer coach, how would he react if he knew that you were hanging out with this girl that was vaping, or that, she's your best friend or your girlfriend or whatever? How would coach so and so react to that? What would he think? What would she think? Boom. And then you get them to start to thinking about, oh, this is not just about me. This is not just, now you're talking about how my behavior reflects on the people that I admire, because God forbid I let Emily or Taylor Swift know about my darkest secrets, right? It's like, so I'm going to behave to that level because that's the expectation. That's for me. So your greatest influence doesn't come from being their parent. It comes from being the safe place they choose to return to. And this is where I'm going to take my glasses off because this is serious. This is where we lose a lot of our teenagers, or why we complain that a lot of teenagers go to their friends for information or go to their friends for support. Of course, they're going to do that. How comfortable, what kind of environment are we building for our teenagers so they feel comfortable coming to us for anything? When they're really in trouble, I know my oldest daughter, she's in college, and about 2 or 3 weeks ago, she texted me at 11:48 at night. She's the one that never calls me, never text. Not, and I don't take it personal. She's independent, and I'm glad that she's doing her life. But she texts me 11:48 at night. She's like, "I love you, mom." I was like, that's interesting. So I'll call her back, and I was like, "Hey, baby girl, how are you?" She's like, "I love you too. What's going on?" Because I know there's something going on. Because 11:48 at night, and she's texting me, "I love you, mom." She's like, "Well, my car kind of, got messed up or whatever," and she's explaining to me what happened, and I was like, "Okay." So when she really needed help, she knows she can call mom because when she's in trouble, she knows she can call mom. And I said, calm. Now, why did she had an accident with her car or whatever. I did not react. Okay, what happened? You're okay. The car, this and that. Okay. Everything's gonna be okay. Do you need your car in the next couple of days? No. Okay. Today's Wednesday. I'll be there Friday and we'll fix it. Don't worry about it. Got there Friday, fixed the car. Saturday morning. Okay, what did we learn about this experience, sweetie? Then you start with asking those questions about what they learned from that experience and how they're not gonna put themselves in that situation again. I'm going to put my glasses back on because I see comments on the chat. Says, I found two vapes in my son's backpack over the weekend. He's 16. He claimed it wasn't his, but how would you suggest to address that? Keeping these principles in mind, trying to lead, guide, but not lecture him. Okay. Very, 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 very good question. You found vapes in your son's backpack. This happens all the time. They're not mine. Okay. So first you find and you ask questions. Let's go back to asking, but the questions were these. And I always told my kids, by the time I ask you a question, let me tell you, I already know the answer. But I'm going to ask you anyway because I want to see your version of it. Okay. And just in that manner, you're not upset. You're just not upset yet. But you're just going to ask the question. Okay. And another thing that I always told my kids ever since they were very young is like, I pray every day. Sometimes I pray for 2 minutes. Sometimes I pray for 2 hours. But every day, if it's only 2 minutes, my 2 minutes I spend it praying that if you ever get in trouble, that I find out first and that you get punished by me so that the world doesn't punish you. So this conversation of vaping and things like that, it's happened in my household too. It was a lot easier if I told them that because I was like, I rather punish you than the police officer punishing you. So how would you handle the situation? Ask open-ended questions. Where are these? Where'd you get them? Whose are they? We're not trying to, we're not finding exactly who they belong. They're not going to throw their friend under the bus. That's fine. Okay. So what are these for? Do you know what you put in them? How do you use them? Teach me how to use them. Uh-oh. If they start using them, it's like, they know how to, so you start asking the open-ended questions to get to that. And then you end the conversation. It was like, how would your cheer coach feel about this? How would your football coach think about this? I know my kids have a very close relationship with my sisters. So when I tell your aunt about this, how do you want me to phrase this? Okay. So what do you think is going to happen after this? Let them give you the answers. Okay. And you guide the questioning to where you have them think about what is being done. Are you aware of what consequences there are to vaping and things like that? No? Okay, let's ask ChatGPT. Oh my God, my kids don't use ChatGPT. Yes, they do. Ask GPT, what are the consequences? You don't know how to use ChatGPT? Your kid's gonna know. So ask them to teach you too. And so what are the consequences? What do you want to ask? What do you want to know? What is it? What behavior are you replacing with vaping? What emotion are you repressing with vaping? And that's a question that we have to ask ourselves, right? Now, if we drink a bottle of wine at night to calm ourselves down or to numb ourselves, do we have authority to question their vaping? I know we're adults and their brains and development and things like that. How are you modeling your behavior? It comes down to that because kids don't understand that you're, 40 years old and they're 15 and their brain, and they don't care about their brain at this point. They think their brain's going to live forever. That's just a feeling that they have. That's what teenagers do. They really don't care for long term until they see something happening like around their community, which at time is too late, right? But so if you give them that example, like, do you understand what it does to your brain? They don't care. So that's argument is out of there because they don't see the future. They only see right now. So it's having those open-ended questions and listening. Last questions. Where am I leading well right now? So these are reflection questions for you. I will send this with the link to the presentation for you guys. I'm going to send this, and so you're going to have this, but I want you to reflect on this. Where am I leading well right now, and where am I managing behavior instead of guiding values? Like I know that teenagers are going to be teenagers only for a little bit, but remember, this is the time that you're setting the expectation of the adult they're going to become. This is where you're developing that adult that they're going to become. This is not just the teenagers and the teenage years is going to finish when they're 20. Because by the time they get 20, guess what? By that time, they're out of your house and they're making decisions on their own. So this is the time to teach them those. What emotional reaction of mine has become a barrier to connection? If you react to everything that they tell you and to their behavior, how is that becoming a barrier to the connection that you have with your kid? How can I shift one conversation this week from control to curiosity, to asking those open-ended questions? So these are your takeaways to reflect for you so that you can build a stronger connection for your kid. Okay. So I have created Enjoy Parenting. I've talked about this resource for a long time. I created this from 50 years experience of dealing 80% of my time with teenagers. Enjoy Parenting is a self-paced online course. And I recommend watching one video, apply that strategy for 1 week, and then watching the other video the next week, and then applying, and then like that, because that way you can start kind of building up that connection. So it's 5 topics broken into actionable 3 short videos. So there's 5 topics, and the topics that include communication, it's right there on the 4th bulletin point. Communication, discipline, building trust, setting boundaries, honor the personality. So they're broken. So each of those is 3 videos, and each video has actionable things, strategies that you can utilize with your teenagers. Each one of those 3 videos that I put, like they're between 15 and 20 minutes, is like a therapy session. So I've had somebody value my online course. And that's, I mean, it's so concise and precise to the tips, just like you saw today, you guys. This is something that you can finish the call and you can go apply it right away into your life. Like tomorrow you can wake up and you can have a different relationship with your teenager. I mean, literally, that's the reality. If you apply the points that we talked about today. So this is what Enjoy Parenting is. It includes an activity page for you to practice skills, something you can print, put on the fridge. So you're like, okay, this week I gotta, this are the things that I'm going to focus on for this week. If you enroll in Enjoy Parenting, you will receive 2 one-on-one coaching sessions for personalized guidance. This is valued. So my each individual sessions are, so the 2 of them are valued in $350. So this one I recommend doing like maybe after the 1st or 2nd week, and then doing it like towards the end of Enjoy Parenting. So maybe in the middle, or maybe something specific and things like that. And you can always buy more one-on-one coaching sessions if it's a situation that you'd really need a lot of help. The value of the Enjoy Parenting, the true value of it, it's when I had it valued, it was $3,000, because each of those sessions, each of those videos is 1 therapy session because of the information that I share. So, but I put it at $997. So instead of the $3,000, and I will give you a special of $100 off coupon. I'm going to email it to you guys tomorrow because it's kind of late today, but I will also include a feedback form about this session. And for any other information, you can go to my website, which is xochitrodriguez.com. And you can also visit my social media and other channels so you can stay on top of it. And on my website, I also have my book. So when you buy Enjoy Parenting, you will get the digital version of this book, but it has everything that you need, exercises, questions that you can ask your teenager. That has the values. I just saw it right here. The values exercise that I do for my families. Where is it? It's right here. My gosh. Of course, there we go. So that's a value exercise that I do with my family, so you can have access to that. So my book is $17. It's on Amazon. You can find it there, and the link is on my website too. So you have all those resources. He's very active. I have one more question. He's very active in band. So that's a good approach. How would his band coach feel about this? Yes, very good. Any kid that is not doing an extracurricular activity, either through school or outside, they're going to get in trouble. Yep. That's the first thing when parents bring me teenagers for therapy. I always ask what kind of extracurricular activity are they involved in? Because if not, they're not involved in anything, all they have is their phone that they're going to look at all the time, being influenced by all these people. So being enrolled in an extracurricular activity is extremely important. Thank you so much, you guys, for this time. I really appreciate you, and I hope that you found value in it. Please share with your friends, share with family, share with your teenager. I mean, this is not, I'm not hiding anything. We're not hiding anything from them. We're being transparent because we want them to be transparent with us. Again, we're setting the example and we're leading ourselves so we can lead them better. So if you have any questions, any comments, you know where to find me, and I am here to serve you, and God bless. Good night. And let me, I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can stop sharing the screen. Ah, I still need more experience with this, huh?
And then you got to find the stop record button.
Stop, there we go. And then stop.